That's another tricky question. I mean, it really depends on from which government perspective, or from which perspective, really, not just government, but from which perspective you're looking at it, and also what's
Let's
your
take the
ultimate goal.
industry perspective.
Yeah. I think for the industry, I still think that this renegotiation of, or like seizing the opportunity to meaningfully renegotiate in the long term the shared risks and responsibilities between customers and suppliers. And this goes through the entire stack, right? Like this is between foundry and fabless company, between fabless company and tier one, between tier one and tier two. So depending on which value chain you are, if we take the electric vehicle OEM, talking to their tier one supplier for the braking system or for the window wiper, and this tier one talking to the semiconductor supplier that produces the microcontroller for that window wiper, and then the microcontroller supplier talking to their foundry for the manufacturing of this microcontroller. So if you throughout the value chain, I think, as I said before, so far the risk has the risk of demand fluctuation has largely been handed down in the supply chain. And at the end of the day, the semiconductor supplier saw canceled orders, and that was it. And I think now with the chip shortages, we saw the recognition that maybe in the long term, that's not the best way to deal with risk in this value chain, because the semiconductor industry will continue to be cyclical. It will continue to see ups and downs.
Right.
Even if we know that the market is destined to double sometime in the next decade, in the meantime, there will be several quarters of decelerating growth, several quarters of explosion of demand. So there will always be the risk of high fluctuations, and what's a meaningful way to share those. And I think that the better companies can find ways with both their suppliers and their customers to deal with that, be that through information sharing within the industry. Right? Like there are really interesting projects in the automotive industry about shared processes and shared information or shared information about planned capacity and planned production volumes and so on that haven't been shared before, to have more meaningful forecasts and so on. Also regarding natural disasters, the reality is with global warming, we will see more natural disasters than less in the future. And natural disasters in such a value chain have the tendency to disrupt. A fire in the wrong place, a snowstorm as in Texas in 2021 in the wrong place can highly disrupt this value chain. So I think another aspect is through better supply chain management, through better inventory levels, through better overstock practices, how to make this value chain from the industry side more resilient. And as a last point, I think then it's also crucial, assuming in a fairy tale land that you are a good corporate citizen in terms of your supply chain management, that you did everything you can to be prepared for the next semiconductor shortage, that you did everything you can to be prepared for the next earthquake that disrupts your supplier. How best to communicate that to your government? And this links us to the first point that I made. I think going forward, it will be crucial for the industry side to clearly communicate to the governments, look, this is what we are already doing. This is what we want to do. And here we see ways for you to help us for supply chain resilience. And the more you can get ahead of this, and the more you can show the government that you are already a good corporate citizen, the better it is in the long term, because then you're not waiting for the government to come up with ideas how to do supply chain monitoring or how to have national reserves of chips. Like we are in that type of debate right now.